Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our match reaction series, joining you not straight, but a fair few hours to be fair, after Arsenal have smashed I was going to say Manchester City, but it's the game that's of course kicking off right now. But Sevilla 6-0 in the Emirates Cup, winning the most prestigious of North London trophies this afternoon with a big win. To talk about the game and of course to read through plenty of your more comments as well, I'm joined by Ola. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Yes, man, I'm good, man. Thank you for bringing me back up on the channel, man.
Of course, man. It's been a while. It's been a while. How are you? I know that
Yeah,
things are going mad for you at the moment, mate. UFC world has gripped you.
yeah, man. I mean, it's been insane. My summer has been incredible, and thank you to everybody that made it possible. All you guys that's watching, everybody that donated towards my GoFundMe campaign. Thank you to all of you, man. You made a lot of things possible for me this summer, man. And yeah, it's been really good. We're doing a lot of good stuff on the Fight Week show.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, some of the interviews you've been doing are crazy. I'm not, my attachment to the world of UFC is pretty limited and restricted, but from seeing people that obviously watch your shows and really are into it, from some of the stuff you've done, it's crazy. So congratulations,
Yeah,
mate.
man. Thank you very much, man.
And I
really
can only
appreciate
echo, I can only echo what you said. Our listeners and a lot of people beyond of obviously TGT really did band together and got behind your cause to keep you here, and it's an amazing thing that we've managed to do. It's we've done some mad things throughout the summer. Of course, that cause, we helped Vinny as well with his cause with Cancer Macmillan, and Gunners versus Cancer as well. There's been some crazy things that have gone on this summer that we've managed to help with, and it's a proud thing to run a community here that really does care about the wider thing in the world of Arsenal. But let's bring the conversation to Arsenal and a 6-0 win over Sevilla. Ola, what a brilliant performance.
Bro, it's been a while since I've seen a fluid game like that. A game that, I know it's preseason and I know it's Emirates Cup, but we've got a Premier League game coming up next Friday, and this is what I want to see going into a competitive game that we've got next Friday. And if the team that we saw today, and it looks like that's as close to the first team as we're going to see, that team that he put out today. If that's what we got to look forward to this season, then I'm happy. I'm all for it.
Indeed, yeah. I think that is probably the starting lineup that we're going to see play against Crystal Palace on Friday. Tierney, Tomiyasu, Smith Rowe, Vieira all weren't, in the squad. Tierney was there and did actually take part in the warm down from the game. So, there's some positives that he is very, very close indeed to returning. Vivian raises a point in the chat. Arsenal made Sevilla look poor. How some people, I think the more critical side of things, pointed out that Sevilla weren't good. So I don't think Sevilla were particularly good today at all. It's certainly not as good as I've seen Sevilla last season, where they, especially in the first half of last season, where they were pushing the title challenges for most of the campaign. They looked different without, obviously, Jules Koundé. They didn't have him in the back because he's off to move to Barcelona. But how much do you think it is Sevilla being poor, and how much do you think it is Arsenal making them be poor?
I really hate that take on people saying the other team is poor because we won. You got to think what we bring to the game, the skill set we bring to the game, how we approach the game, and the tenacity that they use to chase and impose themselves on the game can make a team poor. They had their own game plans coming into the game. We didn't allow them to execute their game plan, and that's why they look poor. It's not so much that they're poor, it's we did our job. We imposed our game plan on them. We went out there and everybody to a man did their job the right way, and that's why we looked really, really good. Subsequently making Sevilla look poor, but I wouldn't say Sevilla was poor. I'll just say they just couldn't execute what they came to do, and we imposed ourselves on them. So I always like to give the winning team the credit they deserve when they do go out and win a game in such a dominant fashion. and not take nothing away from them by saying, the other team was poor. That's why you won so good. It doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's absolutely fair. We made Sevilla panic and make mistakes, and we harried them from the minute go. We can talk about the fact that Sevilla made mistakes and that, they didn't really offer too much going forwards. But I agree with you. I think this comes down to praising the Arsenal performance. This is the type of performance that we want to see in the Premier League. And if we're putting these types of performances in during these friendlies, that's a really good sign for the upcoming season. We're going to go into some, obviously, the individual performances. And there is only one place to start, which is Gabriel Jesus, who just looks an entire new force for Arsenal at this stage, Ola. He looks incredible.
Jesus, please save some for the Premier League, man. What are you doing? I mean, this guy is just bagging goals after goals after goals in every single friendlies that he's played in. And I say this with caution, all right? I like him a lot, but I don't want to put too much expectation on him. His price tag obviously will command a certain level of expectation, but at the same time, it's going to be his first season playing with the team, and if this is what we can expect from the guy, sign me up, because since Alexis Sanchez, I've not really seen somebody that runs around like a blue ass fly and gets and he just makes a nuisance of himself in the box. And I think defenders are they especially Premier League defenders, they know what he brings. They know he's not going to stop, and he's quite strong as well. He doesn't get injured that often. I've not seen a bad injury record about him. So I really, really like him. I like his performance today. Being on back post and just being in certain places at certain times, the sort of goals he's scoring. You need a striker that's going to gobble those goals in, and we missed out on those sort of taking those sort of chances last season. And having someone like him in the squad is definitely a plus. It's been a good signing. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, the energy that he brings to the forward line is inspiring. I think we saw that in the game against Nuremberg in Germany. Immediately as soon as he came on in that second half, Martinelli stepped up his game when he was obviously came off the bench as well. And Nketiah was a different player from the first half compared to the second one. He was just so inspirational for the rest of the side. And I think Zinchenko brings a very similar kind of vibe as well. I really liked his game on the left flank. I liked the dynamic of that back three of White, Saliba and Gabriel, who kind of form a back three when we're on the attack as Zinchenko pushes forwards. I noticed that Xhaka was kind of playing in a weird kind of left fullback role when Zinchenko pushed forwards. But at the same time, Xhaka wasn't afraid himself to get into the box and actually had a couple of opportunities himself to score. He created a couple of opportunities. There was that pass for Odegaard that Odegaard skied over. It was a tricky one to take coming onto it quite at speed, but he's creating chances as well, as is Zinchenko. They're both getting forward. And I think that we're going to find that, especially at home next season, that Arsenal are going to dominate these games in terms of chances. They're going to be a right nightmare. I think the Emirates is going to be a right pain for teams to come to next season, even, across the league. Liverpool, City, your Spurs, whoever you want to talk about. I think the Emirates is going to be a very, very
this season Friday, bro. Like, it's here. It's here.
Yeah. I mean, how does it make you feel knowing that's the team that's going to play on Friday? Because that is what we're expecting at this stage.
I mean, it don't matter what signing that we make from now till Friday. I'm not sure if that signing is going to be able to feature in the Friday game, because this group of guys they've all had a role to play in the preseason leading up to now. So look, the team that was out there today, especially in the first half, I thought to myself, this is something to look forward to. Obviously, I still believe, even though, and this is with Xhaka's performance, I don't want to knock it, because like I said earlier on, everyone to a man, and I mean to a man, did exceptional today. But we know by the time we get to the grueling part of the Premier League, when we start getting towards that November, December time, even though we got that World Cup break in between that, we're gonna need every man on top of their game. And I believe we still need to upgrade on Shaka. I can't trust him, even though last season was his best season for us.
Yeah,
and that's saying something, in my opinion. For all the criticism he gets, I think he did all right last season, and but we definitely need to upgrade on him. There's maybe Pepe, you know what I mean? There's still something about Pepe that I'm not quite. It's not there yet, and I don't think the manager can see it neither. And we don't know if we're going to be able to get an upgrade on him this season. Maybe sell him and bring somebody else in. So I'd like a couple more signings before the windows shut. If you can get maybe three.
Wow.
Why not?
3.
Why not?
Well, who and where?
In the Europa League, I want another striker, bro. I don't want to go into the season with just Nketiah and Jesus.
Who would you sign?
What? Another striker?
Yeah, who we talk? Because I don't know who you're gonna get. Like,
no, go and dislodge somebody that's with the club.
No,
other clubs too. I don't not right off the top of my head. If it, maybe Lautaro Martinez, I don't know, like someone like that. I'm not somebody that can give us a different dimension, because when we need a big center forward, we've always said we wanted one. Jesus is not that guy, right?
Well, Martinez
dynamic in the box.
Tall, is he? He's tiny, is he not? He's like 5'8", I think, 5'9". I just
Martinez?
think, from my perspective, I think that, you know, the idea of Arsenal bringing in 3 players between now and the end of the window, when we've already signed 5 players, I don't think that's realistic. Do I think it's what we need? Yes. I think we've said that on the show a number of times. You know, I think we need a wide forward that can cover in the middle. I think we absolutely have to sign a central midfielder. If we don't sign a central midfielder before the window closes, that's a massive oversight by the club and a failure, in my opinion, not to do that. And arguably for me, a left-sided centre-back, if Marie leaves, is important to get that left footer into cover for Gabriel, because otherwise we don't have a cover for that player. They're the 3 areas for me I'm looking at. Potentially, you're looking at defensive midfield. We could see. I've been shouting at Ibrahim Sangara for a long time to say he's available. You know, you got a buyout clause, etc. But I can't see Arsenal now going into the market and say bringing in a Martinez, bringing in Osimhen, bringing in someone like that. I just don't see it happening. I don't think it's feasible.
Because I just get worried. Like if something was to happen to, say, Gabriel Jesus, like,
of course,
then you know we're stuck with Nketiah and shuffling.
When you say stuck with Nketiah, do you think he's really that bad?
Bro, I've not seen any. He has to show me, because I've not seen anything yet to prove to me that he can give us 15 goals.
Well, he got 5 in his last 8 last season.
Yeah, it's not enough though.
But that's 5 in 8. I mean, surely if he's going to get 38 games.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm just saying I haven't seen it, you know, and that 5 came in like one, maybe 3 of them came in one game, you know what I mean? So I just haven't seen it. I want him to prove me wrong. It's not like I want Nketiah to do bad, you know what I mean? It's for him to prove doubters like me wrong, because I just don't think he can do it. Whether he can do it and carry that, challenge on his back when the time comes, when the manager calls on him, is yet to be seen. And if he does that, then he will shut people like me up. But until then, I have my doubts.
I think that the quality of Jesus is something which I think is going to have an impact on the viewing of Nketiah, because I think Nketiah is a player that showed at the end of last season that he's a decent striker. You know, I wouldn't call him bad. I wouldn't call him not good enough for necessarily Arsenal's second choice. I just think that because of how good Jesus has been, and then that expectation of an Arsenal striker in Jesus, it probably undermines Nketiah's position somewhat. I think that what we saw from Nketiah at the end of last season is a player that can score goals. I think we saw that obviously with his movement, and the goal that he scored today was in the right place at the right time on the end of Martinelli's pass. I think he's shown with the goals he scored in pre-season and at the end of last season that there is enough there for me to be the secondary. But look, say if Gabriel Jesus, touch wood, gets a ridiculously long-term injury and is out for the season, yeah, am I worried about having just Nketiah for that amount of time? Yes, but I think you'd ask Manchester City and say, if you lost Haaland for the entire season, would that be a problem? If you said to Liverpool and you lose Nunez for the entire season, is that going to be a problem? I think it would be equally as damaging to those teams, because naturally a second-choice striker is not going to be of the same level as the one that currently starting for any of those top teams. if Spurs lose Kane and go down to Richarlison, no matter spending 60 million on that guy, that's still a massive step down in terms of a striker that they've gone from Kane to Richarlison, in my view. So I think that whilst I agree that we need to add something in the forward line, and in my thinking, it has to be a wide player who has the potential to cover in the middle as well. Like, say, you know, a player like a Gakpo or a Guiri or a Gonzalo Guedes, you know, these guys can play in the middle as well as playing out wide. But the idea of bringing in someone in of comparable quality to Jesus, of which I agree with you, Lautaro Martinez is certainly one of those players. I just don't see... I mean, if you're Lautaro Martinez and you're sitting at Inter Milan as their starting striker, Arsenal come to you and say, we want to sign you. We've agreed a deal with Inter. You're coming in, but you're going to be competing with Gabriel Jesus for the starting spot, or you can stay at Inter and start there and compete for a title and play in the Champions League. It's difficult to see that happening. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, I know it's difficult, and I think that's probably why we went for Rafinha for the purposes of what you just said, somebody that can come in from the wide side into the central forward lineup. But it's just a concern because of the amount of games that we've got this season, because we didn't have that last season. And I'm just worried about the amount of games, grueling games that we're going to be playing through the Europa League, all the domestic games, and the Premier League. It's a lot for just two main strikers to carry. I think we're pretty much covered in every other position apart from defensive midfield, like you said. I definitely want someone like even a Yuri Tillemans. Go and get him. I'd like, he knows the league. I prefer him to, all these other Paqueta links and all these other guys that I keep hearing about. Yuri Tillemans is already in the Premier League. He knows what the intensity of the league is like. He doesn't have to acclimatize to anything. He can just get on with it. So it's one of the good advantages of getting a player like him. But other than that, that's why I said 2 or 3. But I'm just being greedy saying 3. But really and truly, we do. Two would be nice. To get in before the window shuts.
I think we're going to get 1. That's my prediction. I think we'll get in a midfielder.
You think we'll get 1?
I think we'll just get 1.
Where do you think we'll get?
I think we'll get a midfielder. I think it could be Tielemans. Yeah, I think that's the player we'll get. I mean, from what Arteta said after the game, he said that they want to do more. They want to bring in more. They had a plan. They wanted to do. It's clear that they want a wide player, and it's clear that they want a midfielder. That's been obvious. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think Pepe stays?
I think if we're going to sign a wide player, he'll go. But it's getting him out that's the problem. I don't see anyone paying that £140,000 per week wage, and I don't think anyone will come in with the price tag that Arsenal would value him at. I did a video yesterday talking about, the idea of keeping Pepe maybe isn't the worst thing in the world if what you can't get. Because to be honest, there's not really that many genuine quality options that can come in a wide position. If you're wondering, Tom, why you're talking out your ass, go and watch my video from yesterday, and I go through all of the potential options in those wide positions. And there isn't really any that make me get off my seat and go, wow, yeah, a brilliant signing, go and get him. Rafinha would have done that. Rafinha really would have been a get off my seat type of signing. But there isn't that many out there in a wide position, which makes me think, well, perhaps we are better off, say, keeping Pepe for a season instead of wasting our money on a player that might not do the job for us this summer. Wait till next summer, move Pepe on, getting a player who is available perhaps with Champions League qualification that we could then go and get next summer. But the midfield is inexcusable for me not to see us try and sign someone in. I get that we've got to move on Torreira. I get that we've got to try and move on Maitland-Niles. I understand that, because you can't just keep adding without letting players leave, because then you just get a bloated squad with far too many wages being paid. But we cannot be in a position where we've not added something in midfield for me. We have to make sure we strengthen in that area, as you said, with the amount of competitions that we're in. Let's dip into the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Ishko says, but there is a difference between those clubs. When I was talking about City, Liverpool and Spurs, etc., their second striker can be our main striker. That's a huge difference. Isn't good enough. Look, Richarlison, could he be Arsenal's main striker? Is he better than Jesus? No, he's not. So that rules out Spurs. Would you start Kai Havertz over Jesus? I don't think I would right now. If it was a choice between them two, I don't think I would. Would I start Roberto Firmino instead of Gabriel Jesus? No, I don't think I would. Would I start Julian Alvarez over Gabriel Jesus? No, I don't think I would. So, Isco, I have to disagree with your point. I don't think those club second strikers are as good as our main striker. I think Gabriel Jesus is better than all of those players. What I would agree with you, though, is that all of those clubs have a significantly better secondary option than our current secondary option, which I think is a fair point. Let's go to Jota, I suppose, is the more likely backups as well. But even then, would I rather see Jota play as a striker for Arsenal over Jesus? Still, the answer for me is no. I like Jota a lot, but I wouldn't start him over Gabriel Jesus. Mr. Joe Kerr says, Tom, if Pepe couldn't get regular minutes in the final 10 games of last season when we needed goals from anywhere, what chance does he have now? The chances now, Ola, I think, for Pepe is that we have Europa League football. That's where he's going to get more games this season.
Yeah, Europa League definitely helps some of these maybe second string players that we got in the side, so they can get some game time, remain sharp for when they get called on, for Premier League games when needed. So the idea of having Europa League is good for some of these players. It didn't help last season that we didn't have that many games to play, and that's why we didn't really see enough of Pepe. And when he did get called on, maybe it was too cold, to come on the pitch and do something. So let's hope that Europa League is there to help them sharpen up. Just stay sharp and ready for when they get called on for any of the Premier League games that especially important games, because we're going to have some of those important games where we're going to need some of these fringe players to step in and still do near enough as good a job as whoever was supposed to be starting in that position.
Let's talk about William Saliba. I thought he was brilliant. I thought that he, I've been a big advocate of Ben White. I like Ben White a lot and what he's brought to the team. I think he certainly stepped up that right-hand side centre-back position last summer for us. And actually, the way in which we play out from the back has really been kicked off by White's inclusion in the team. And stylistically, there are a lot of similarities between White and Saliba for the way that they play out from the back. Saliba, for me, though, I thought was a step above White in the game today. I thought that his calmness, his composure, his passing, his tracking back, his tackling when need be was great. And Ola, I'm looking forward to seeing what Saliba can bring to us next year.
Yeah, it looks really good. That loan spell that he's been on, that must have done him some good. He looks confident on the ball. No real rush to the game. It looks like a good reader of the game. And when you can read the game the way that it looks like he's doing, we've got something special there. I mean, paying 27 million for him couple seasons ago, I did think it was steep. And then when we didn't see him for 2 years, I'm thinking we've paid 27 million pounds for someone that ain't even played a single game for competitive game, shall I say, for Arsenal. But now when you look at what he's done so far in the friendlies that we've seen, it looks composed. It looks like a leader, which is something that's it's crazy to say because he's so young. He's such a young guy, but you can see those qualities in him, the way he goes about his business on the pitch. And I know we've not really seen him in the Premier League yet. I don't want to gas him up or anything like that.
I'm gassing him up all the way.
Because we know what our fans are like. I mean, him playing in the French league and getting one of the French players of the year and all of that. Look, he's not done in the Premier League yet, and there is still a tangible that says the Premier League is just way more intensive than all these other leagues. And that's going to test Saliba. And, let's see if it passes with flying colors. But so far, so good. I like what I'm saying.
Yeah, me too. Really, really, really like what we've seen so far. I think that ultimately, Saliba is coming in to play as many games as possible, to start with Gabriel as much as possible. He wants to be here, despite the propaganda from France to try and get him to return. I think that there is clearly a plan in place for Mikel Arteta and the club for Saliba this season. and playing him is going to give them that confidence and assurance, that assuredness, that's the word I want, to renew a contract. And that's the ultimate thing that we need to see from him, is a renewal. Same with Bukayo Saka, you know, those two, and Martinelli and Gabriel. You know, there's a few players going down to 2 years now on their deals. We need to make sure that we get those guys signed up to new contracts, because that's going to be the biggest thing for the long terminology of the team. It shouldn't be too much of an issue for some. I don't think Saka's would be too much a problem. Gabriel Martinelli's talked about staying at Arsenal forever in interviews in the past, and I think Gabriel's a big fan of being here too. So I don't think they should be problems. But Saliba has always been the big kind of question mark about his future. So hopefully we can see those two flourish. And I think with the amount of games that we've got this season, we're going to see different combinations of Tomiyasu and White and Saliba and Gabriel, and Holding, of course, is in the mix too. And I think we're going to see some really interesting combinations of players. We're giving us a lot more strength in our defence, which is something that we still need to build on, despite the fact that Arteta has improved us defensively. You know, keeping more clean sheets last season than we have done for the past 4 seasons was impressive. But we need to now stop conceding more goals. We need to stop conceding late. When we do concede, we need to keep our heads. That was the big problem last season. When we conceded a goal, we conceded 2, 3, 4 in some games, and that needs to stop. We need to keep ourselves in games when we concede, because this young team, I think, Ola, last season, the big problem is we conceded because they're these young guys. Their heads went, especially at places like Man City, at Anfield, even the Palace game, of course, at the end of last season. We lost our heads in those moments, and that cost us.
Yes, conceding and not getting ourselves together was one of our big failures last season. And not just only that, we didn't just stop there. Our bounce back ability went away. We were losing 2-3 games on the bounce, and this is not something that is really that you usually associate with Arsenal, the Arsenal of old. Anyways, usually when we lose a game, I used to feel sorry for the next team we played. That's how we used to. That's how it used to feel like. But now, when we lose a game, you don't even know if you're going to win the next one. Then you lose the next one, and you're thinking, where's the next one going to come from? And it felt like that going into the Chelsea game that we went to last season, and then we ended up beating Chelsea. And I was thinking, whoa, okay, that's where the next win came from. So it's difficult to win the amount of games that we do when we concede and we don't keep our heads, we don't get ourselves together and try and either get back in the game or at least stay in the game to try and nick a goal back to try and get the draw. We just go on to concede more and more, and hopefully it's something that they've worked on throughout the preseason, and I definitely want to see less of that this coming season. And the display that they gave us today, if especially the first half, that first half was flawless. And I know we're not going to get games like that every week. I understand that. I know how football works. It's not always going to be as rosy as that. But for the majority of the game, for the majority of the season, I want to see some kind of consistency. For me, that's the most that I really want to see from us this season. And I think if we're consistent enough, we're going to be there or thereabouts come end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Mickey, who says the entire team played well today, but there were some outstanding performances from Jesus, Saliba, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Partey. I'd put Xhaka and Zinchenko in there as well. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. Martinelli in particular, despite not scoring, I think he took his game to another level creatively. He was
so selfless today. Selfless.
And you need that, you need that. I think there is Odegaard is too selfless. I think there are times where he should pull the trigger, he needs to shoot more, and he obviously, his main mindset is on creating for his teammates. But the chance he had on the right-hand side, which was ironically put through by Martinelli, he could have tested the keeper in that moment. He may not have scored, but, ultimately his attempt at a back heel, which is a much more difficult process to try and create a chance rather than maybe taking a shot, didn't work out. That's where he needs to improve. Let's go to Al, who says, I called it last year that Arteta would be signing players who can play multiple positions. This is horrendous for teams moving forwards. They won't know how to combat our setups. There's a lot of different options we're going to have in the team next season that's going to make us very, very difficult to deal with. There was also another comment I wanted to touch upon as well. Angel says, do we have what it takes to bounce back if we start losing a game? This is what I wanted to talk about, because last season we lost in phases, Brentford, City, Chelsea, Brighton, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Manchester United, Everton. I think there was a game against Liverpool, and then there was a Newcastle win dispersed in there. But, we lost in groups last year. When we lost a game, we then lost the next one, Spurs and Newcastle at the end of the season. 2 or 3 defeats on the trot kept happening. And we didn't know when we were going to turn things around. We managed to do it against the likes of Norwich and Southampton, I think it was, and also against Chelsea, of course, at Stamford Bridge. But we can't have these moments where we lose a game, because we will lose a game next season. It's going to happen at some point, and it probably will be against, at some points, a team that we didn't expect to lose against. It's the Premier League. You are going to lose games that you don't expect to, but it's about how you respond to that. Do you see something different in this team now that makes you think we will respond better than we did last season?
It's too early to say, but based on old habits die hard, man. You know what I mean? And this is for me, they're going to need a mentality shift to be able to get over, losing games in because there's a mentality block in there. If they go out, set out, and know in their mind that no matter what today, we're going to die to get these 3 points. They have that mental attitude. I guarantee we'll always almost bounce back after every loss. And like you said, we're going to lose games, but the manner that we were losing games last season, it just wasn't good for the place that the place and the target that we needed to be by the for the end of the season. But when you look at it, they definitely, that mentality shift, because the talent is there. They can go and win big games. If you went for certain situations with, say, like the Manchester City game, where Shaka went on mad, and we were doing all right in those moments, and then we went on to lose the game, and then that creates, that floodgate of losses, that we then go and have. It's almost like, as soon as we lose, the team that we're playing next, they're rubbing their hands. They want to kick us while we're down and get them points off of us. And we need to learn to stand up, right back up, and get back into the fight. And as soon as we have that mentality change, I think we're going to do good things this season. But getting over that mental hurdle, it's hard. And I hope they've been seeing the very, very good psychologists in that during the summer, because we need everybody on the same page, everybody rolling their sleeves up and ready to fight. Not just fight for themselves, not just fight for the badge, but fight for the fans as well.
Absolutely. I want to get back to the place where we are intimidating as a team to line up against in the tunnel. I know that we don't really do lineups in the tunnel anymore because of the whole different process behind walking out and stuff. But we need to have that intimidation. We need to have teams not wanting to come up against us. Arsenal are a team that the smaller teams, Liverpool and Man City's of this world, it would be that the small relegation candidates would go, well, that's probably a write-off, that game. So, we'll even rotate some of our big players out at times to give them a rest, because we're not going to pick up anything here. But Arsenal was always seen as a bit of a game where they thought, it's Arsenal, I think we can get something from this. We need to change that mindset. We need to be an intimidating side that those teams are thinking, oh, bloody hell, we've got Arsenal coming up this weekend. We need to be able to be in, or we're going to have to play our best, and hopefully that adds that extra pressure, and that can lead to mistakes. And Arsenal just need to focus on themselves, focus on the next game, focus on winning, and hopefully we'll be in for a really good season. Ola, I will ask you for a prediction for the season at this early stage. I know it's mean, but where do you think we might finish based upon what you've seen, what business we've done, what business we could still do? What's your estimations?
I still think we finish 5th.
Really?
Because everybody ain't stopping. Well, like you said, it's mean, but it's for them to change.
Who's finishing above us if we finish 5th?
I think Manchester United.
Really? I think because of Ten Hag, is that?
because of Ten Hag, and if they keep Ronaldo. Ronaldo scored 18 goals last season. Let's not, you know what I mean? And he missed some games and stuff. There was a lot that they got wrong last season, and if they could put that right, they're going to be they're going to be competing with us in Europa League as well. Don't forget. So, but I think they just pip us to it. Just simply, especially if they keep Ronaldo, it'll be a big factor in that. If,
Europa League, do you think we'll win that?
I think, yeah. I want to give us a chance of at least getting to the final. And what happens in that one-off game, is because I think we're capable. Every time we go to Europa League, we're certainly one of the favorite teams to go the distance in that competition. So I got no qualms about that at all. It's who we get on that maybe last 4 to last 2. That's what's going to really determine what we do in the Europa League. But I think we can go the distance in the Europa League, no problem. It's more the Premier League, and if we're going that far into Europa League, that might take a toll on trying to get into the top 4. It depends what basket we're putting our eggs in. Maybe we're out and we need to get into top 4. So there's still a lot of variables that could happen there. But if I'm going to choose any team to finish above us, I'd say Manchester United, as much as it hurts me to say, but that's the team that's doing it.
No, fair enough. Entitled to his opinion. Javier says we finished second. Peter John says top 4. Hugh says top 4 in Europa League trophy. Gus says top 4. MVR says Chelsea won't finish in the top 4 this season. I don't think they will, but I think, Ollie, you're probably thinking Spurs and United were going to finish 3rd and 4th from that. Were you, or did you have Chelsea finishing in the top 4 still?
I have Chelsea finishing in the top 4. Yes.
Okay, so Spurs 6th. Interesting. Wow says 5th in Europa League. Ace says 3rd. SJ says top 3. Irfan says 3rd in Europa League. Greg says top 4 is ours. Man, next you'll say Chelsea. Gene says
Chelsea.
3rd. Yeah, you did say Chelsea, to be fair. Look, I think that for me, Arsenal need to be qualifying for the Champions League next season. That is the minimum expectation that I have. That is progress from last season. That's the next step. And we need to be progressing. If we're not progressing, you're only standing still. And in the Premier League, which if we know is an upward slope, if you're standing still, eventually you're going to start moving backwards. So we need to make sure that we progress, we get into the Champions League next season, be that through the top 4 or be that through the Europa League win and obviously qualifying through that. We need to make sure we do that. I'm really excited for the season. We're going to be bringing you continued coverage, of course, in the lead up to the game against Crystal Palace and throughout the season as well. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Ola, give your channel a massive shout out as well for those that enjoy their UFC as well.
Yeah, if you're into MMA and UFC and mixed martial arts is your bag, please go subscribe to the Fight Week show on YouTube. We're doing some big things on there. We need the support. We need to get out there. And, you guys are the reasons why we do it. We've got an interview coming with the EFC featherweight champion. That's happening tomorrow morning. And then we've got a bunch of interviews lined up as well, man. We're interviewing big guests from the UFC and regional circuits as well. So, yeah, come and join us on the journey that we're trying to do. And, we appreciate everybody that supported us so far to get to this point.
Absolutely. Ola's doing some brilliant work and pulling in some amazing guests if you're into that sort of thing. So definitely go and check it out. And if you're not, maybe it'll get you into that sort of thing. So it's worth checking out indeed. Thank you so much, everyone that's tuned in. I'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Probably having to keep myself a little quiet because the missus is on her hen do today. The things I've been sent today so far, it seems like she's having a great time. I will have to try and go one step further next week in the Stag Do plans. Hopefully it goes well. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Absolute pleasure as always. Thank you again to Ollie. You can follow him on Twitter at BlackScorpion3. You can follow myself at the Gooner Talk TV and at Tom Cantor Media. I look forward to having a chat as always tomorrow. A fantastic evening, and as always, up the Arsenal.
Salute.